it's just you watch these running backs, you hope that they're able to play and play for a long time without serious injury. It goes along with the territory there. And you saw that with Nick Chubb last night. Maybe you didn't see it with Nick Chubb because the injury, the camera angle is kind of shielded because you can't really see what happened. But what happens is you'll have your director and producer who will be in the truck, and they have all these monitors. They probably went, telling Joe Buck in his ear, oh, it's really bad. That's usually what happens. Somebody will give you a heads up because Joe's calling the action and he's watching the monitor, or maybe he's just watching the play, and maybe he can't see it. And we can't, we're looking at it and go, okay. And then all of a sudden he's like grabbing his knee. And then they talked about, the severity of it. And then we realized, now you have to show it again to at least put it in context of what happened there. They decided that they weren't going to do it. I would have done it. I would have done it once because, you're carrying the game. And I think you owe it to the audience. And you could do a disclaimer. And look, I might be in the minority here, but if I was running the show, I would say, all right, Joe, give them a disclaimer. We're going to show this. Just let them know that this is a gruesome injury. And you show it once. And even say, look, we're going to show it once. That's all we're going to show. We hope to get an update on his injury at some point throughout the game. What would you have done, Todd?
I agree with what you just said. You give them, you don't have to play it multiple times. You give people people that are watching a chance to turn away, and you show it the one time, and that's the end of it. But that's exactly how it should be handled.
What about you, Seton?
When did it become the norm that you don't show them? I forget who it was now, but somebody broke their arm in the end zone once, and it was like shown a couple of times, and they're like, you got to stop showing that.
I'm trying to think. There was an injury in the Super Bowl, the Bengals and the Niners, Tim Krumrie, and they had a terrible turf in Miami that led to that injury. And they showed it. When Kevin Ware of Louisville, they showed it above shot. The Jason Kendall broken ankle at first base. Yeah, Paulie.
One that stands out to me where they showed it, but they really tried not to. Do you remember when Gordon Hayward broke his leg with the Celtics? I happened to be watching that game. It wasn't a national game. It was a local game. And they were like, they were very cringy. They showed a top shot, almost like a overhead camera angle, like a jib cam high up. So you could see the play, see what caused the injury, but you couldn't see really close. They kind of watered it down, I guess you could say.
What about you, Marvin?
Yeah, I would have given a disclaimer, just showed it once, and maybe, like Paulie said, maybe an overhead angle, maybe a far-away angle, but I'm not sure about that close-up, but I would have.
Paulie, what would you have done?
Yeah, I think you have to show it. Definitely a disclaimer, this is not pleasant, it's not good, but there might be a story here. This is a star running back on an interesting team who, was he hit low? Was it a cheap shot? The people at home have to decide what happened on that play. You definitely give a disclaimer in case there's kids watching. If you can, give a couple seconds, rack it up once, and then it's a choice of the viewer, and then you're telling the full story.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards that way. And, you have to make these decisions in the moment. So I have the benefit of 12 hours here that, or whatever it is, that I can go, I don't. In the moment, you're the director, you're the producer. You probably have your boss who's running the network who's going to be involved in this as well. But I think you have to show it once. And if you can do it, you don't do a slow motion, don't, do a spot shadow, don't do any diagram, just here is the injury from another angle here. And this is the same knee that is surgically repaired with Nick Chubb. And then you move on from that. Yes, Eden.
That Kevin Ware injury was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Joe Theismann, when that happened, you realized right away. You know how I realized right away, and I was at the game, was Lawrence Taylor's reaction. So here's the baddest dude on the planet playing football, and all of a sudden he's got his hands up by his helmet, And he's like, oh, my God. And, we've talked to Joe Theismann about this. And Joe, the body goes into shock. So I don't know if Joe was in pain when his leg was broken. I'm sure it was painful, I should say. But your body goes into shock. And that probably happened to him, where it's like, okay, I know I'm in trouble here. And then they're going to get you off the field. And then they're going to try to numb that up. But I remember Lawrence Taylor's reaction, because as I've been told that you could hear it. You could hear it break. And I think that's what LT was reacting to is, oh, my God. He just ended Joe Theismann's career. Yes, Todd.
I was just watching on one of the websites that actual play, and they did show at least once the reverse angle where you see his leg kind of get mangled and stuck underneath. I don't know how many more times they showed it after that.
Yeah.
But they did show a slow motion reverse angle.
Yeah. Sometimes if you show it from afar, but I would have shown it. Napoleon McCallum, remember when he blew out his knee with the Raiders? That was a Monday night game. So we've had those, but I think you just have to be sensitive. That's all. And what I was told one time by a news director is you want to show your audience, but you also have to factor in that person who just got injured, their family watching this as well. And it always stayed in the back of my mind if you ever had something like this, where it's like, oh, my God, well, imagine if that's your husband or that's your son, that's your brother, and you're watching that kind of injury and just being sensitive to that. Who was the pitcher, left-handed pitcher?
Who broke his arm?
Broke his arm.
Dravecky?
Yeah, Dave Dravecky. And you watched it and you saw the ball just kind of drop. And then you realized that something really bad happened. And he broke his arm on a pitch. And, we talked to him about that as well. He joined us, and I don't know what year that was, but I remember that he said it just popped. And he realized that, he had broken something. That doesn't happen. But it did to Dave. Yeah, Paulie.
Going back to last night, I was watching, and I was more surprised that they didn't show the Nick Chubb replay than if they would have. Because, like I said, usually they show one, or it was a disclaimer, or maybe a distant angle. Do you think it's the social media era where they were concerned in real time about the outpouring of criticism by showing that injury? That's what I thought when I thought about it for a couple minutes. Like, wow, that's surprising that they didn't show it, because networks usually do. But I think that maybe the chilling effect has gotten into the booth.
Well, also, you can show it once, but social media is going to show it forever.
Even on social media, though, you get criticized if you post the injury. Like you're not even
really?
supposed to post it on social media,
Yeah.
or you'll get backlash. Yeah.